Welcome to the Smily webinar on the topic of how to optimize your listings for maximum bookings. So we'll start straight away and we'll start with the topic of the headline. This is your first opportunity on your listing to make your property stand out on the listings page from your competitors. So we recommend that you write a short, relevant headline. A formula that's really effective for writing your headline is to use a descriptive adjective plus the type of property plus the best or key amenity. So something like picturesque chalet with a brilliant view of the mountains or cozy apartment with a great location. This formula keeps your title short but includes information that will attract guests to your property. Make sure to use a mix of upper and lowercase letters. Ensure that your headline isn't all in capitals. It looks much more professional if you use a title that's both in upper and lowercase rather than all in capitals. And make sure that you check that the translation of your title is correct. If English isn't your first language, then do check the English of your title. And in Smily, you can also add a French translation of your title. So be sure to check that the French is correct as well. Some examples of some titles, headlines from listings that are online. A couple of examples that are less good: pleasant studio, front beach, swimming pool, all in capitals with English that doesn't really make any sense, is a much less professional title than something like quiet studio in the heart of Nice, which follows better the formula for creating a good title that we've just talked about. Equally, amazing view on the Baie des Anges, charming ... If you make your title too long, then some channels will abbreviate it and cut off the last words on the listings page, which doesn't look great because it doesn't enable you to get your full title across. So it's another reason to keep it short and relevant. Best price, centre across the sea, doesn't really make any sense in English, which doesn't look very professional. But another good example, stylish apartment in Nice Old Town, which follows our formula of the type of property, an adjective, and then the best amenity. So then we'll move on from the headline to the photos, which are another really key element in making your listing stand out and attracting guests to your property. So make sure your photos are the best they can be. Add at least 10 photos. Use high quality images with high resolution and good composition. Having good quality images will really make a big difference over having poor quality or poorly put together photos. Think about the order that you put your photos in. Make sure that you put a photo of your best amenity first. Also include a photo of each part of the property, but keep the most interesting photos at the beginning. So maybe the less interesting amenities, such as the toilet or the bathroom, towards the end of your list of photos. Don't include several photos of the same thing. So don't include multiple photos of the same rooms or lots of photos of the exterior. Try and keep them relevant. Add photos in a landscape format. Add tags to your photos when you are in Smily, in the details of your property. When you add photos, you have the possibility to add a little description of what the photo is showing. So make sure you add these to help your guests to know what they're looking at. And always take more photos than you need. If you're working with a photographer to take photos of your property, or if you're taking a day to take a good quality photos, make sure that you take multiple photos so that you can choose the best ones, and so that in the future, if you want to change your photos to keep your listing fresh, then you can. So now we'll move on to a few examples of some photos from some listings that are online. The top line here, you can see the difference between focusing on a really good amenity or piece of furniture in your property. If you focus on a comfy looking bed or a cozy looking sofa, then it's a lot more attractive than perhaps a shot that's from a less interesting angle or of a less interesting amenity. It's also really valuable to include in your photos some elements that give an idea of real life in your apartment and a bit more activity. For example, a table with some cups or candles laid out on it, a picture of a terrace with a nice meal laid out on it. If you're able to include wide shot photos that show the entire area of the property, then that's really valuable. These photos at the top show much better angles, for example, than the line of photos at the bottom of the page, which really give a much better idea for your potential guests as to what the space is like. So we'll move on to the description. This is your opportunity to give lots of detail about your property and to ensure that your potential guests aren't left with any questions. So be clear and detailed. Include details about the best features. Tell your guests why they should stay in your apartment and what the best things about your property are. Tell guests about your location. They're going to want to know how to get to the main attractions in the area and the things that they can do during their trip. So tell them where you are and how they can get to the key tourist attractions. For example, is there a bus stop nearby or a metro station? Specify the number and size of the rooms. Guests want to be able to see exactly where they're going to spend their time, that there's enough space for them to eat with their family, that they've all got enough space to relax, and what the sleeping arrangements are going to be. So make sure to include details of that. And include the floor number. That gives a really good idea of the situation of the property. Finally, let potential guests know what precautionary measures you're taking against coronavirus. For example, your cleaning and check-in procedures and cancellation policies. We'll touch on that again later, but with regards to the description, it's an opportunity to give details about what you're doing against COVID. So the next point we'll talk about is the amenities. In Smily, when you edit your rental, you have the opportunity to tick the boxes of all of the amenities that are available in your property. So the first point about this is make sure you tick as many amenities as you can, carefully check through the list and select everything that is available in your property. A few key ones to look out for. On Airbnb, there's the concept of essential amenities, which are amenities that Airbnb strongly recommend that you include for your guests in your rental. These are toilet paper, soap, hand and body soap, towels for each of your guests, and linen for every bed in the property. In Smily, these Airbnb essential amenities are just called essentials. Make sure that you tick this if you offer all of those amenities. If you tick essentials in Smily, it will be assumed that you offer each of those items. If you want to charge for linen, then you can add a linen charge in the rates tab on Smily so that you can still tick essentials and then add the charge that applies for your linen. So it's really recommended to offer these items if you don't already, and then to make sure you tick essentials to show your guests that they'll be getting all of those items. Beyond that, a few very popular amenities: a laptop-friendly workspace to allow people who are working remotely to be able to work from your property. To accept pets, if you're able to have pets in your property, make sure you tick that amenity so that guests are aware, and anybody who's traveling with a pet will consider your property in their search. Equally, if your property is suitable for children, make sure to tick the amenity saying that children are welcome, because that will open up your property to a lot more searches for anybody traveling with their family. Another list of amenities that are very popular. If you don't already offer these items, then we highly recommend that you add them into your listing. If you can add these items to your property, set yourself up so that you can offer these to your guests, then that makes a big difference. You've got the list there. The presentation will be available, so you can refer back to this list of amenities. So now we're going to move on to the settings of your property and your rentals. We've talked about the elements that you can include in your listing to make it as attractive as you possibly can. We'll now talk about your booking settings to help be competitive in your market. So we'll start with rates. In Smily, when you set up your rental and you go to the rates tab, you will see this panel, which gives you the possibility to customize your rates for individual periods. So first of all, we recommend that you offer as much availability as possible. If you can already open up your rental for bookings for next summer and even next winter, make sure that you do. If you don't add rates on Smily for a given date, then that date will not be open or bookable on the bookings platforms. So it's really important that you set up your rates as soon as you possibly can so that it's possible to book your rental. And then we also highly recommend that you adapt your pricing and your minimum stay to the seasons. So on Smily, using these settings, you can configure your prices. You can configure your prices differently for each season. So for example, for the high season, you can set a particular price per night and a particular minimum stay. And then in low season, in less popular times of the year, you can adapt that to make your property perhaps cheaper or to make your minimum stay shorter so that you can attract more guests in the lower season. Equally, there are lots of other pricing rules available. You can set different check-in and check-out days. You can set a different price at the weekend. You can configure an additional supplement for extra guests, weekly discounts, monthly discounts, and other discounts there. Use these pricing rules to optimize your pricing. You can customize them for different date periods, so use them as much as you possibly can to offer the optimum pricing for your guests. If you can add special offers, then do. You can use the discounts here for weekly discounts or last minute discounts, and you can equally add special offers in Smily for particular periods where you can offer a discount. So the next thing that's really important to mention are your reviews on your listing. If you have lots of 5-star reviews, then you will get more bookings. Reviews are a really important point that guests look at in order to get an idea of the quality of your property and your service, and so they will hugely help you to attract more guests. So it's important to encourage your guests to leave you a review when they leave so that you can collect lots of great reviews to attract more guests in the future. In Smily, you can do this in your booking settings. So again, in the details of each rental, you have a tab called Booking Settings. And here you can configure your checkout instructions. So that's some text that you can set in your Smily settings, which will then be sent automatically as a message to your guests before they check out. So you could include a message in your checkout instructions to encourage your guests to leave you a review so that you're more likely to collect lots of reviews. Smily also sends an automated request to your guests after they leave, asking them to leave a review using Smily's review system. So this is separate from the review scores that are left on the channels. So for example, on Airbnb, guests can also leave you a review in Smily, which are collected in the reviews section of your account. Another way to encourage guests to leave you a review is to complete our form, which lets you leave a review of your guests. So as soon as they depart, you can go to our form. There's a link to it here, but there's also a link to it on the Smily manual. If you fill in the form with all the details of the review that you'd like to leave, we'll then add that to you. We'll then add that for you into the platform, and your guests will be notified that you've left them a review, which will encourage them to leave you a review as well. It's really important to be aware as well that Airbnb are about to introduce a policy whereby any rentals that have at least 10 reviews and a score of less than 4 will be removed from the platform. So if you've already got quite a lot of reviews on your rental, but your average review score is less than 4, then you risk your rental being unpublished from the Airbnb platform. So it's just another point to indicate just how important reviews are for your ranking on the platforms. So we'll move on to the next element, which is the minimum advance notice period. This means the minimum delay until which you can accept to receive online bookings. So for example, if you set a minimum delay of 2 days, that means that if somebody goes onto one of the platforms to try to make a booking today, they won't be able to book for today or tomorrow, but they will be able to book for the following day, so not for the next 2 days. This setting is also in the booking settings of each of your rentals. So you can configure a different minimum advance notice period for each rental. And we recommend that you adapt this period to be the minimum possible for each of your properties. This will help you to get bookings from people who are looking to book last minute, which is especially popular at the moment during the coronavirus pandemic. So then we'll move on to talk about the cancellation policy, which is also a really important factor in attracting guests and getting the most out of your listings. There are 2 options for cancellation policies on Smily. The moderate cancellation policy is the more flexible option. This option allows guests to cancel for free up to 5 days before check-in. This cancellation policy is best adapted to rentals that are in cities where travellers prefer to be able to cancel until the last moment. It's also better adapted to the current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic, where last minute bookings are much more common and guests appreciate flexible cancellation terms. The other option available in Smily is the strict cancellation policy, which doesn't allow guests to cancel for free. So with the strict cancellation policy, guests pay a 50% down payment to book, and this is non-refundable. And then they pay the balance of their booking 7 days before arrival, and this is also non-refundable. The strict cancellation policy is less well adapted to the current situation where guests require flexibility given the uncertainty of the times. However, in normal times, it's more recommended for large properties or properties located in rural areas where last minute bookings are not so common. Guests tend to book further in advance. And then the final point for me about maximizing your response from your listings is responding to messages. Your response rate and response time for messages from your guests are really important factors for the ranking of your listing on the platforms. So it's really important that you ensure to reply as quickly as possible. Even if you receive a request that you cannot accommodate, make sure to reply quickly, because a quick response time will help your rental to be ranked more highly. All messages that you receive from your guests from all platforms are synchronized with the Smily inbox. So you can check these in Smily, but they're also delivered to you by email to make sure you don't miss them. So it's really worth checking that the emails from the Smily inbox don't go into your spam folder. So it's worth, after this webinar, going onto your emails and checking your emails that you receive from Smily and making sure that they go into your inbox and not your spam folder. So I'm now going to pass over to Ella to continue the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Megan, for all this. We will arrive at the end of the webinar with those few slides left to be presented about the COVID crisis, to see how you can adapt the best and make the most out of it and attract guests during this pandemic. So first, what we will see is, and talk again a bit about the cancellation policy. So as Megan already said, it's really important that you try to be the most flexible as you can during this crisis. I know it's always easy for you to accept to get more flexible cancellation policy, but well, we really see that there is some great outcomes when you choose to have more flexibility on those cancellation policy. Indeed, the booking platforms have noticed themselves that travelers book properties that have flexible cancellation policy. So if you want to increase the number of bookings that you receive, you should at least try to have more flexible cancellation policy. As Megan explained, you can easily switch to the moderate cancellation policy instead of the strict one if you use it in Smily. The platforms also have added some filters dedicated to flexible cancellation policy. So it means that they highlight your property if you have those kind of cancellation policy, and it also means that you will be ranked in a better position inside the channel. So you'll be more visible and potentially you can get more bookings. Also, travelers try to filter their properties when they look to book, and they tend to book more when they see a flexible cancellation policy. This is why this is an important point for you to work on. Also, if possible, try to accept last-minute bookings as much as possible, because according to what we have seen, indeed people tend to book last minute more than usual. So that's really an important point. As Megan also said, in Smily, it's possible to add a special offer. So on top of your rates, you have, of course, the rate rules that can allow you to automate a bit the kind of rates that you offer, depending on the length of the stay or depending on the number of person that book, etc. But you also have a dedicated tab that's the special offer tab. And as you know, more than ever, travelers are more sensitive to cost. So it's important to be able to offer those kind of special offers when you can. The best and the advice we would give you is also to offer discounts on longer stays. As you know, it's very popular at the moment to do remote work. So people tend to stay longer inside the properties, and as it's very popular, it can attract those kind of travelers to your properties when you offer discounts on longer stays. Then as well, what would be very recommended on our side is to promote the measures that you put in place on your properties against the coronavirus. For example, you can let your guests know about your cleaning protocols. So as Megan said, you can talk about it in the description, but you can also inform your guests on arrival about your policy and what you aim to achieve here and how you would like to protect your guests, but also yourself against this virus. It's also really important to have a checklist. So whether it's for yourself when you work on your property, when you do the cleaning, but also for your guests to show your exact protocol, and they can see what you apply there. Also, as Megan already said, it's really important to encourage your guests to leave reviews, and also if they can put a special note about your cleaning on the property. It could help other travelers to feel more comfortable booking at your property, and yeah, maybe encourage other guests to book there. If possible for you, you can offer a contactless check-in. So it means that you are not physically there when a guest arrives. So this can be done via several measures that you can put in place. For example, have a key box to have your guests do a self-check-in instead of being physically there. I know it's sometimes a bit difficult to have this kind of vision, because a lot of the property owners like to be there and have this human contact when they do a check-in. What you could recommend is to have something like a touch for them when they arrive in the property. For example, a gift box with a few local products, or a note that you can leave them that's a bit personal. So you can still have this human interaction, but yeah, unfortunately, contactless check-in for now. Also, Airbnb has put in place a cleaning protocol that will be mandatory for you to accept in order to stay online on Airbnb. On our side, we will send you a dedicated email with all the information about what's behind this new Airbnb cleaning protocol. There is a guide that's very complete with all the information. Also, it contains checklists that can help you, as we've seen a bit earlier here in this slide, for your cleaning protocol. And also it has a lot of tips and yeah, information about everything that you need to know about the cleaning protocol. So it's very interesting to read that. And yeah, as I said, it will be mandatory to accept and put in place those measures that Airbnb recommends in order to keep your listings online. So with the email that we will send, you will receive a link for you to accept the new Airbnb cleaning protocol and keep your listings live on the channel. Then the last part would be about the amenities. So as Megan already said, it's really important to be as accurate as you can on the amenities on your listing, so you can put all the amenities available on your Smily listings. What's really important is to make sure that you also try to create, if you can, amenities that you maybe don't have yet in your properties but are very interesting to have now. For example, a laptop work area, or try to put a desk or a work space that could fit anyone who would like to work remotely. So as you know, guests are now able to work remotely as well, so it could be interesting for you if you don't have this kind of space yet, to try to create one in your property, or at least if you already have one, try to highlight it, that you have it available. Also, internet's really important when you work remotely. So if you have a Wi-Fi connection, you can, for example, highlight it and say the type of connection that you have, the speed, the Wi-Fi speed is also really important to highlight. If you have a good internet connection and a good quality of connection, that's good to let them know. Also, if you have the possibility to accommodate pets, you can also highlight it on the amenity section, that you allow pets to come to the property. Highlight amenities for families, such as the washing machine, the toys, baby equipment, such as a high chair or a baby bed. Could be very useful if families would like to stay in your property. There's also the parking space. That's really important for your property if you wish people to feel comfortable in your property, and if you have this kind of space available, try to highlight it if possible. So I think that's it for us on our side. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining, and a lot of strength to everyone during this difficult period. And yeah, I hope we can get out of it soon.